This is Ashley Brooks working on final project, class SPHS 502, covering freezing the degrees of freedom, teaching the skill of throwing a ball to a novice, and we'll be breaking down the joints that are frozen, why, and then the order of release. Degrees of freedom are controlled by something that's called a motor skill, which is the function of the body that controls precise movements of muscles. Together, they're done to execute a specific act. It's important to know that motor skills, controlling the act or skill of throwing a ball, can be considered a gross motor skill. They're learned at a young age and over a short amount of time, and after practice and development, they can be finessed into a greater skill. They require the control over the larger muscle groups of the arms and the shoulder for this specific skill. And the triceps specifically can be worked to increase the throwing power and coordination behind the skill of throwing a ball. The major joints that will be affected for this skill will be the shoulder, elbow, and wrist joint. And we'll break that down throughout this video and analysis. It should be noted that the execution of the movement of throwing a ball can sometimes be broken down into 3 phases. These phases are normally the preparation phase, the execution phase, and the follow-through. And there are 7 degrees of freedom when executing the throw. 3 affect the shoulder, 2 the elbow, and 2 the wrist. So when teaching a novice the skill of throwing a ball, you will begin with the athlete in a neutral position, as you'll see in the first photograph. The athlete's arms are down by his side, and he's relaxed, and we would consider this the preparation phase. You have to note that the breakdown of this analysis is a lot slower than the actual execution phase, but moving on to the next movement and photograph, the arms are now extended to the side, and this will be the next degree of freedom that we're going to analyze. It's affecting the shoulder and where it's extended to the side, and the elbow and wrist are relaxed, but the wrist is grasping the ball in the throwing hand. Step in teaching the novice how to throw the ball, they will be taking a step back, kind of like a launching pad for the final release of the ball. The finger, after the finger is pointed to the direction that the ball is to be thrown, the throwing shoulder, the elbow, and the wrist are going to be releasing the last degrees of freedom to execute the final throw. Finally, for the execution of the last step for our skill, you'll see that the arm will rotate and extend from the shoulder over the front of the body, and the elbow straightens and the wrist flexes to release the ball towards its final target. Again, this will be the final movements of the degrees of freedom for the shoulder, wrist, and elbow. Follow through and the recovery of the body requires the body to basically have the non-throwing arm relax and return to a neutral position to the side. And the follow through of the throwing arm will wait for just about a moment for the release of the ball, and then the shoulder, elbow, and wrist will become neutral and fall to the side again. And the leg, either it will return to the first position of takeoff, or the opposite leg will come forward to meet that leg. And you can see in the photo, the last photo, basically the body just returns to a neutral position overall. Takes much less time to get to the end result for teaching someone how to throw a ball and move through all the movements fairly easily and fluidly, ensuring that the shoulder, elbow, and wrist are all working together properly. The video shows the movement a little bit faster than what's really able to be broken down. But the photos show a pretty clear representation of each movement and where the freezing of the degrees of freedom actually occur. And that basically wraps up the skill of throwing a ball, and I hope that any novice would be able to learn how to properly break down the movements and learn a great new skill on throwing a ball, and eventually move into really working on the different aspects of power and direction after learning the basic parts of the movement.